Hi everyone! Today I'm really excited to show you how to crochet this gorgeous sunflower granny square. Now it may look a bit different than others you have seen, and that's because it is. So of course you can always use the trusty classic sunburst granny square to make your sunflowers, but I wanted something different. Something with bigger petals and honestly something that had a little more texture and movement to it. So this square was born. Now this one has 3 double crochet shells in the 4th round that turns it into a square, but this tutorial is going to show you how it looks with the 4 double crochet shells. So I'll actually be doing this 4th square round a little bit differently. I prefer the 4 double crochets, but I wanted to make sure that I showed both just because I wanted you to see it for yourself and then be able to choose whichever will work best for your project, whatever it may be. So I'm going to be using a 5mm hook, and I'm going to be using Brava, which is a worsted weight yarn from WeCrochet or Knit Picks, wherever you prefer to buy it. And I'm going to be using the colors Sienna for the center, Almond for round 2, Canary in round 3, and then just plain white as the 4th square round. And I'll have all of those colors listed below. So I'm going to assume that you know all of your basic stitches and we can just breeze right through the tutorial. All right, let's get started. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to put this to the side here, and I'm going to start off with round 1. Now round 1 has a lot of stitches in it. Bear with me while I get my yarn sorted here. So we're going to start with a slip knot. Okay, however you make yours is up to you. I think we all make them a little bit differently. Now I chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If you're a very tight crocheter, you can try and chain those loosely, or maybe just start with a chain 6. You have quite a few stitches that you're going to want to be putting into the center ring that we're going to put here, and it gets a little bit tight. It will flatten out as you continue with your rounds, but just so you know, loose or just go for a chain 6. So we're going to join in the 5th chain from our hook here to create a center ring, like so. And then I'm going to take this tail and I'm going to kind of pull it through here and wrap it around once. And then I'm going to continue to work over that tail. So technically it's like having sewn it in twice. And that just means that I can cut it off at the end and I don't have to worry about it going anywhere. Okay. Now chain 2, and we're going to work 1 double crochet into the center of the ring and chain 1. Okay, so that's a little bit different than the rest of the cluster stitches that we're going to be putting into the center of the ring, and that's because we can't really do a cluster stitch to start with, so we have to do this one, which looks like a cluster stitch. So this is our first pretend cluster stitch. Now we're going to work 11 2 double crochet cluster stitches into the center of the ring, and this is how you do those. You're going to yarn over, insert your hook into the center of the ring. Okay, making sure you're working over all those tails. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into the center ring, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. You should have 3 rings on your hook. Yarn over, pull through all 3 of those loops on your hook. Okay, and then chain 1 to lock it down. So we're going to do that 10 more times for a total of 12 cluster stitches into the center of that ring. So yarn over, insert, pull through 2, yarn over, insert, pull through 2, pull through all 3. Okay. So I'm going to work my way around. And if I'm going too fast, there is an option to change the playback speed. If you tap on the screen, there should be 3 buttons that appear in the corner, and you can change the playback speed to slow it down, or you can just pause the video to get caught up. And you can pull those stitches back, okay? So don't worry, you're not going to distort your project or anything like that. You're not going to ruin anything. Pull them back, make room, because we got to put lots in here. And yes, it does get quite crowded. I get a lot of people asking me if I would use, or if you can use, the magic ring because they don't like the big center circle on this one. You can, I wouldn't, okay? I know you don't like the big center ring, but the magic circle, I mean, it always comes undone no matter how much you sew in your tails. So I never use them, and especially with this one where it is so open and you have so many stitches that you're trying to put into the center ring, I don't think it's a great idea. You have been warned. Okay, so let's see how many stitches I have here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. What? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. All right, I didn't believe it, but I got them. So we've come to the end of our round. Now to join our round, I'm going to insert my hook. It's hard to see with the brown, I apologize. It'll get easier with the lighter colors. But I'm going to insert my hook into that chain 1 space between the first cluster and that second cluster there, okay? So just in between, and slip stitch closed. Then we're going to fasten off because we're all done with that color. Okay, so there you have it. There's your center. I'm going to put my yarn aside there. Now what do I do with this tail? So rather than flipping it over and sewing in the tail, I'm actually just going to insert my hook into the back loop over here, okay? And I'm going to weave that tail through. And I'm going to do that for a total of 5 times, okay? And then I'm going to flip so the wrong side of the stitches are facing me, and I'm going to go back the way we came. And this is how I do all of the tails in all of the granny squares I work. Every single round, that's how I finish off my tails so that I don't have to sew that in later. Once I work another round over top of those stitches, it's very secure and it equals less sewing. I just don't like stopping and interrupting my flow of crochet and having to pick up a sewing needle or bring it with me if I'm on the go. So that's how I do them. There you go. So I'm going to now insert my hook in between any of these cluster stitches, okay, into that chain 1 space. It doesn't matter where. Just insert and grab your next color. For me, that is this beautiful tanny beige color. It's called Almond. I'm going to drape it over my hook and pull through. I'm going to yarn over both of those tails and pull through, okay? Drop the tail and we're going to work over that as we're crocheting here. I'm going to chain 1. So that join was also considered a chain 1, and then my second chain here. So I have a total of chain 2 and it counts as a double crochet. Now I'm going to work 2 more double crochets into that same space. Okay, so that's basically just a granny shell. 3 double crochets. 3 double crochets into the next chain 1 space, or that space between your cluster stitches, okay, like so. And you're going to do that all the way around, okay, making sure that you work over this tail. So 3 double crochets into each chain 1 space. So this round's nice and easy. Now, if you don't like the look of the 3 double crochets, I did it intentionally, but there is a way to change it. So what am I getting at here? So this makes it really, really tight. When you go to work your next round, you're going to be pulling those stitches apart a little bit. And if I pull this closer, I'm not sure if you can see, but some of them do buckle and bend and pop up a little bit. Now it lies flat, but I wanted to have kind of a messy, squishy look because I wanted these petals to be squished together, okay? So it's a really tight space that we've worked those petals into, and I wanted that look. If you don't like that look and you want it to be neater, another option for you would be to work a cluster stitch similar to the Sunburst Granny Square. So I'll show you that right now. You would yarn over, insert your hook into the chain 1 space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, okay? You do that 3 more times. Okay, you should have a total of 5 loops on your hook. Then you yarn over and pull through all 5. And then you chain 2, okay? So you can work cluster stitches all the way around in lieu of the 3 double crochets. It's entirely up to you. And they kind of look like petals themselves. So if you want a more petal-y, cute, I think it's definitely more feminine looking, then I would go with the cluster stitches rather than the plain double crochets, okay? So that is an option. I like to give you guys options because then you can personalize it and make it your own. Okay, so I'm just going to continue working my regular double crochets. All the way around. Oh, I'm crocheting a hair. How gross is that? And last one here. You should have 36 stitches around, I believe it is. Okay, so we have come to the end here, and now I'm going to join my round by slip stitching into the top of the first official double crochet stitch, not into that chain 2. Okay, and this just creates a nice and visible round when you do it that way. All right, fasten off. We are done with that color. And same as the previous round, I'm going to weave that tail into these back loops, okay, to the next 5, 4, 5. You don't need to go crazy. Just, okay, flip. Go back the way you came. Remember, we're always working from the front of our work here. Okay, so I've got the front stitches facing me. We've got the center of our flower complete. So now I'm going to do the petals. So we're going to insert in between any of these shells of double crochets. Okay, so just pick a spot. They're pretty tight. And if you decided to do the cluster stitches for that round, then you're going to be inserting into the chain 2 space, okay? And you'll have a lot more wiggle room. So we're going to drape our next color over the hook and pull through. We're going to yarn over 2 of those tails and pull through, okay? Drop that tail, we're going to work over it in the back here. You want a total of chain 3, and I chained up 2 because my join counts as my chain 1. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to work, this is a bit of a tongue twister, a 5 treble cluster stitch. Yeah, hold on. So we're going to yarn over twice, insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. You should have 2 loops on your hook. Okay, yarn over twice again, insert into that same spot, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. You should have 3 loops on your hook. Yarn over twice again, insert into that same space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. You should have 4 loops on your hook. We're getting there. Yarn over twice, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. All right, you got 5 loops on your hook. 1 more. Yarn over twice, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. You should have a total of 6 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 6 of those loops. And then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that is your first petal. Yay! And we're just going to do that all the way around. Okay, so you're going to yarn over twice, insert into the next space between your shells here, Okay, so you've got 1, 2, 3 crochets, 1, 2, 3 double crochets. Insert into that space between them. And then you're going to work that same treble cluster stitch to create these beautiful big petals. So 3 on my hook, 2, 3. And don't worry, pause the video, get caught up. I'm gonna work my way all the way around. I'm not gonna skip ahead on you or anything. And you can see that they all take on this different shape, and I love that. So I love that they look imperfect, and if I'm being quite honest, I should have made my pillow pattern in a cotton yarn, because the cotton, it just gives this really imperfect, rustic, wavy kind of texture, and it looks amazing, in my opinion. Some people don't like that kind of messy, natural look, but I do. Sometimes it's just so appropriate, especially with flowers. And when you look at a real sunflower, you know, their petals are kind of all over the place, and they're these just perfectly imperfect things, you know? Ugh, just love them. So I really love the way these petals just kind of do their own thing. It's a whole vibe, as the young'uns say. And you will notice that as you're working your way around here, that they really tend to curl up and in. Don't worry, it'll flatten out once we get our square round on. If they're curling up on you, that's good. That means you're a nice tight crocheter. Nice tight, neat crocheter. I don't know what it is, but I just really enjoy making these. I must be in a sunflower kind of mood. I like too that it's a center ring of a 12. So when you're working a classic sunburst granny square, the center ring has 16 stitches around. This one has 12, so it's actually a little bit smaller. Like the motif itself ends up being big, just like a regular sunburst. This one here is about 4.75 inches across. Not quite 5 inches across. So it's still a very decently sized granny square. And obviously that will depend on what kind of yarn you're using. This is a worsted weight, just to remind you. But yeah, only 12 around kind of makes a big difference. Almost there. See how they just buckle and fold up and just look so natural? Oh, love it. And yeah, truly don't worry, because I know some of you are freaking out right now. Like, mine's all wonky, and I know for sure I'm gonna get someone asking, mine's not laying flat. It's okay, it won't. Not until you get a square round on it. And no, I don't block them. Never do. Never ever block my squares unless it's already in whatever I've made. So once my blanket is all joined, then I will block the entire blanket. I'll just, you know, wash it, hand wash it, whatever, and then lay it out flat on the floor. Same with shawls and cowls and all the rest of it. Never block it before I join. Okay, so I have come all the way around to the beginning, and now to join my round, I'm going to slip stitch into this chain 3 space over here between those first 2 petals. Okay, and then I'm just going to fasten off. Okay, so yours is going to be all wonky doodles. And we are going to do the exact same thing we did with the other ones. We're going to weave that tail in. Do it now so you don't have to sew it later. Just trust me. Trust me. So again, I'm just weaving into the back loops here. Nothing fancy. I go a little bit further on this one so that I don't stop, because then if I stop in the middle of this chain 3 here and then flip, then you end up getting like a big bump. Doesn't matter, you work over it, but yeah, I just prefer it to be a little neater than that. You still get a bit of a bump, but okay. Now we're going to turn this beauty into a square. So I'm going to go over what I mentioned in the beginning. So I've got my white here. So this first one that I made, you'll see that I have shells of 3. So that's just your classic granny square shell, okay? Nothing fancy. It works, okay? I've chained 2 in the corners, and I've chained 1 in between the shells. You do need the chain 1 in order for this to lay flat, okay? When you do the 3 double crochets, it ends up being very open, all right? What would I use this for? Maybe something that needs really good drape. Things I wouldn't use it for is a blanket, okay? If you want your, after you've joined up all of these squares, the weight of a blanket would pull it open so much, and it would just be very, very open. See, it doesn't take much. I'm not pulling very hard. So you would want to do 4 double crochets in between if you're going to do blankets. But for things like cowls or scarves or things that aren't going to be super, super heavy, yeah, definitely the 3 double crochets work. Okay. So yeah, and again, 2 chains in the corner, 1 chain in between your shells. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I prefer it. So we're going to insert our hook into the chain 3 space, just like how we joined all the other colors. Drape our white yarn over top of the hook and pull it through. Yarn over both of those tails and pull through. That's your chain 1 and your join all in one. I'm going to chain 2 more for a total of chain 3. And then I'm going to work 3 trebles into the same space. So yarn over twice, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Do that 2 more times. It's just a regular treble stitch. Okay. Okay, so this first chain 3 counted as your first treble, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 total. You're going to chain 2 in your corner, and then you're going to work 4 more trebles into that same space to create your first corner. Okay. Okay, so there's your first corner. Then into the next chain 3 space, we're going to work 3 double crochets. Into the next chain 3 space, we're going to work 3 more double crochets. Oops, oops, oops. Lost it. Now we're going to do our second corner. So we're going to yarn over twice, and we're going to put 4 trebles into the next chain 3 space. chain 2, and then 4 more trebles into that same space. Now we'll complete our second corner. My yarn's pulling. So let's just have a look at what we did. There you go. And you can, I'm sure, already notice that it flattens out quite nicely for you. Oh my goodness. Get out of town. I did it wrong. So silly. This is supposed to be 4 double crochets. Guys, someone stop me. Okay, back to your first shell here where I told you to put 3 double crochets. You can if you're doing the 3 double crochet thing, but we're not. We're doing the 4. 4 double crochets. There we go. 4 double crochets into the next chain 3 space as well. We're doing 4s all the way around. See? That's better. My goodness. See? Okay, now we're going to do that second corner all over again. So 4 trebles. At least I had my corner right. So 4 trebles. Chain 2. 4 trebles into that same space. Okay, now let's have a look. Hey, that's better. Okay, you see how that just fills it in a little bit nicer when you have the 4s there? Yeah, so it just makes it a little bit more solid and less big gapey. I prefer the 4. Okay, so we're going to do that second side of our square here. 4 double crochets into the next chain 3 space. You would think that I would just edit it out and pretend it never happened, but nah, can't be bothered, honestly. 4 double crochets into the next chain 3 space. Just shows I'm human, right? We all make silly mistakes. Okay, so there's your second side there. Now we got to do our third corner. So 4 trebles, chain 2, 4 trebles. And don't be afraid, you might run out of room in those chain 3 spaces. Don't be afraid to pull those back and make more room for yourself. Okay, so that's my third corner. I just like to set it down and show you where we're at. See how this one's still folded up, but everything over here is laying nice and flat. Okay, it should be laying flat for you. If it isn't, then maybe your gauge is off, or you need to use a different hook with the whatever yarn it is you're using. A different size hook sometimes makes all the difference. Okay, into this next chain 3 space, I'm working my 4 double crochets. Same into the next one. So the written pattern will say 4 double crochets twice. Okay, that's what that means. You're going to do it twice. And then we're going to do our last corner. So 4 trebles. Chain 2, 4 trebles. Who else folds their granny squares up like a sandwich? Anyone? Me? No? Just to get more purchase? I'm always folding mine all up. Look at it's a mess. I try so hard not to when I'm doing the tutorials because I know it's so much easier to see when I keep it open, but it's a habit that's hard to break when you're filming yourself. So I'm not doing anything fancy here, just my 4 double crochets along this last edge here, okay? 4 double crochets into each of those chain 3 spaces. Oops, oops, oops. Okay. Now, look at it coming together. It's so pretty. All right, we're going to join our round by slip stitching into the first treble, okay, not into that chain 3. So into the top of your first treble there, and that just creates a nice, seamless looking round. Snip off your yarn. There you have it. They're so pretty. Love it. So I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to thread it through here. Get in there. And I'm going to flip my square over so the back side is facing me. And I'm going to go into these 2 loops here, okay? And I'm going to work my way down that 1 treble stitch. Down, down, down. And then I'm going to thread it all the way through the back corner stitches here towards this tail, this initial tail that we started with. And then I'm going to thread that tail on as well. Okay, so I've got 2 tails on my needle here. And I'm just going to sew it back and forth a couple times into the back of that corner stitches. I'm going to skip over this first and thread it all the way through. Make sure you get all of them. There we go. And then skip that first one or split the ply, whatever works for you. Go back, make sure you get them all out. And then go one more time in, making sure you split that ply, and then pull them all out. And that's nice and secure. Okay, so that's the only sewing you have to do in this square. Okay, the rest of the tails we worked over, although I did a really poor job of carrying that yellow one over. Ay, ay, ay. So I'm gonna snip off all these other ones so we can actually see what we're doing here. So I actually didn't carry this brown one all the way around. Normally I would. I didn't, so if you didn't either, you can just snake it back a couple times, just weave it through the same way I did up in the corner here. I would just go back and forth a couple times. This is just a sample square I'm not going to use for anything, so I'm going to cut it. But don't be like me because your square will come apart. This one here, same thing. I will just for the sake of this video and for all of you. See, I only worked it under the last 3 here. Bad Mallory. Okay, so I'm gonna just sew it in to make sure it stays put. You don't want your beautiful work coming apart, right? Okay, so there you have it. There is your square, your finished sunflower square. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and I can't wait to see all of your sunflowers. Have a good one, guys. Bye.